Carthage was not a city that slept. Even at night, when the sun vanished beyond the sea and the stars ruled the sky, the city breathed. Torches burned along the harbor. Waves struck the stone docks like whispered warnings. The wind carried voices, some real, some imagined. Carthage remembered everything. It remembered the first ships that arrived from the east. It remembered blood spilt for power, and prayers whispered for mercy. And beneath its temples and markets, under layers of stone and sand, it guarded secrets older than any living soul. Among those secrets was a legend never written in official records, a story passed only through whispers among priests, sailors, and those desperate enough to listen. They called it the Magic Elixir of Carthage. Some said it could heal any illness. Others claimed it revealed hidden truths, allowed one to hear the voices of the past, or see what fate tried to hide. But all versions of the legend agreed on one thing. The elixir always demanded a price. Mahan had grown up with the sea as his only companion. His home stood near the southern harbor, where the smell of salt never faded and the cries of gulls echoed endlessly. He had no memory of his father, only stories told by neighbors who claimed the sea had taken him during a distant voyage. His mother, Elisa, had raised him alone. She was once known for her strength, a woman who carried baskets heavier than most men and laughed louder than the harbor itself. But illness had stolen that strength slowly, cruelly. By the time Mahan reached manhood, she could barely stand without help. Physicians came and went. Herbs were burned. Prayers were spoken. Nothing worked. Each night Mahan sat beside her bed, listening to her breathing grow weaker, counting the pauses between breaths, as if numbers could somehow save her. One evening, as the sun sank red into the sea, Elisa took his hand. "If my time ends," she whispered, "do not let grief turn your heart into stone." Mahan said nothing. He refused to believe those words would ever matter. Hope came from an unexpected place. One afternoon, while Mahan scrubbed the hull of a merchant ship, an old sailor watched him silently. His beard was white with salt, his eyes dark and sharp. "You are searching for something," the sailor finally said. Mahan froze. "Everyone is," he replied. The sailor shook his head. "Not like you." He leaned closer and lowered his voice. "There are cures beyond medicine." Mahan's heart pounded. "You speak of magic. I speak of Carthage," the sailor replied. That night, in a narrow alley, far from the harbor lights, the sailor told him the legend of the elixir of the forgotten temple beneath the city, of the stone guardian that judged hearts, not strength. "Many have searched," the sailor said. "Few returned, none unchanged." "And where are you now?" Mahan asked. The sailor smiled sadly. "I searched too late." Before Mahan could ask more, the old man turned and disappeared into the darkness, leaving only the echo of his words behind. The entrance lay hidden behind a collapsed shrine, ignored by citizens for generations. Mahan waited until the city slept. Then he slipped through shadows, carrying nothing but a small oil lamp, and his stone steps led downward, deeper than any cellar. The air grew colder. Symbols carved into the walls glowed faintly, as if remembering light. At the bottom stood a vast chamber, and there, unmoving yet terrifying, was the stone dragon. Its wings were folded. Its eyes were empty hollows. Yet Mahan felt watched, weighed, judged. A voice not spoken, but felt filled the chamber. "Why do you come?" Mahan swallowed. "To save my mother." "What will you gain?" "Nothing," he replied. "Only her life." Silence followed. Then the pressure lifted. The dragon did not move. At the center of the chamber stood a stone altar. Upon it rested a small crystal vial filled with dark red liquid that shimmered like living blood. The moment Mahan touched it, visions flooded his mind. He saw Carthage rise from dust. He saw flames devour its towers. He saw himself standing at a crossroads, alone. The vial grew warm in his hand. "Only one drop," he whispered, recalling the sailor's warning. Then he ran. Elisa drank a single drop. The change was immediate. Color returned to her face. Strength filled her limbs. She sat up as if illness had never touched her. Mahan wept with relief. But that night, as the city slept, he heard a voice calling his name. Then another, and another. Each night, the voices grew clearer. What was taken must return. Balance has been broken. Mahan began to see things others could not. Shadows that moved on their own. Symbols burning briefly on walls. Faces watching from reflections. A forgotten priest finally told him the truth. "The elixir is not medicine," the priest said. "It is a bond. You saved a life, and now Carthage claims yours in return." "There must be another way," Mahan pleaded. "There is," the priest replied softly. Become its guardian. On the 7th night, Mehen kissed his mother's forehead. I have work to do, he said. She never saw him again. By morning, the vial rested once more on the altar, and Carthage gained a new protector. Even now, people claim to see a young man near the ruins at night, watching, waiting. They say the elixir still rests beneath the city, and that it waits for a heart pure enough to pay the price. When Mahon stepped back into the forgotten temple, the city above him slept peacefully, unaware that one of its sons had come to surrender his future. The stone dragon awaited him. Its eyes, once hollow, now glowed faintly, as if recognizing him. The air felt heavier than before, thick with memory and expectation. You have returned, a voice echoed not aloud, but within his thoughts. I have come to restore what was taken, Mahon replied, placing the crystal vial upon the altar. The liquid shimmered violently, reacting to the stone beneath it. You know the cost, the voice said. Mahon closed his eyes. He thought of his mother's smile, of the harbor winds, of a life that could have been ordinary. No, ooh. The dragon's wings cracked, stone grinding against stone. For the first time in centuries, it moved. Symbols ignited across the chamber floor, ancient and alive. They crawled like fire, wrapping around Mahon's feet, climbing slowly toward his chest. Painful Uid, but not the pain of wounds. It was the pain of separation. Memories pulled away from him. The warmth of the sun, the weight of sleep, the sound of laughter without sorrow. You will walk between moments, the voice intoned. You will remember what the city forgets. You will not age, nor truly live. The symbols reached his heart. Mahon screamed, but the sound never reached the surface. When the light faded, the chamber was silent again. The elixir rested untouched on the altar, and Mahon was no longer entirely human. Time lost meaning. Mahon discovered that night and day mattered only above ground. Below, the temple existed in a constant twilight. He could move unseen through the city's foundations, passing through forgotten tunnels, emerging beneath temples, markets, even private homes. He heard prayers whispered in desperation. He felt the city's fear during storms and sieges. He sensed greed before it became betrayal. Carthage spoke to him not in words, but in emotion, and it never stopped. Centuries passed like drifting sand. Many came searching. A general seeking victory, a priest craving power, a queen desperate to reverse fate. Each reached the chamber. Each stood before the dragon, and each was judged. Some fled in terror. Some were turned to stone where they stood. A rare few were allowed to see the elixir only, to realize they could not bear its price. Mahon watched them all. He felt pity. He felt anger. But he never interfered. The rules were older than him. Then came the fire. Mahon felt it before the screams began. Fear flooded the stones like poison. The city burned. Towers collapsed. Temples cracked. The harbor ran red with blood and flame. Mahon stood beneath the ruins as Carthage died above him. Why do I still exist? He asked the voice. To remember, it answered. He felt every loss, every life extinguished, every prayer unanswered. And yet, something remained. Carthage did not truly die. It slept. The world changed. New cities rose. New languages filled the air. Empires came and went. Above the ruins, people built homes, then abandoned them. Stones were taken. Names were forgotten. But Mahon endured. Sometimes he wondered if his mother's descendants walked the land above. Sometimes he wondered if sacrifice had meaning when memory faded. But the elixir still and the dragon still watched. One night, something changed. A young girl entered the ruins not guided by greed or ambition, but curiosity. She traced symbols with her fingers, whispering questions into the dark. Mahon felt it instantly. She hears us, the city murmured. The girl reached the hidden steps without fear. When she stood before the dragon, it did not stir. What'd you seek? The voice asked. The girl hesitated. Understanding, Mahon felt something unfamiliar. Hope. The elixir glowed brighter than ever. For the first time since his binding, Mahon felt the weight on his soul shift. The guardian may rest, the voice said. If another accepts the bond. Mahon stepped forward. Visible at last. The girl gasped, but did not flee. Will it hurt? She asked. Yes, Mahon replied gently. But it will matter. She nodded. As dawn touched the ruins, the bond transferred. Mahon felt time return to him heavy, finite, precious. He walked into the rising sun, older than the stones, lighter than he had ever been. Behind him, the city whispered once more. The elixir remained. The guardian endured. And the legend lived on. They say the magic elixir of Carthage still waits beneath the ruins. Not for the powerful, but for those willing to give more than they take. If you enjoyed this story, like the video and subscribe for more ancient legends and forgotten mysteries.